There's a kind of person who says, "I'm fine," when they're anything but. You can see it in the way their smile lingers half a second too long, the way their voice stays soft and level, even when their eyes look miles away. It's not that they're lying, it's that the truth feels too heavy to hand to someone else. So instead, they hand you something lighter. "I'm fine." Two small words, a polite offering, a way of saying, "Please don't ask me to unravel right now." These are the people who carry storms inside them and call it weather, who learned a long time ago that honesty can make others uncomfortable, that vulnerability in the wrong room can become a spectacle. So they learned silence. They learned to smile instead of speak. They learned that peace often means pretending. When someone says, "I'm fine," but isn't, they're not just hiding pain, they're protecting it. They guard it the way you'd guard something fragile, because they've learned that not everyone knows how to hold another person's sadness gently. Some people drop it, some people laugh at it, some people call it drama, so they say, "I'm fine." What they mean is, "I don't trust that my pain is safe with you," and maybe they don't trust that it's safe with anyone. There's a psychology to this, though it's rarely clinical. It's not about disorders or diagnoses. It's about patterns of protection. These are the people who grew up believing emotions had to be earned, that love was conditional, that sadness was weakness. Maybe every time they cried, someone sighed. Every time they needed help, someone told them they were too much. So they learned the only way to stay loved was to stay small, to tuck their feelings neatly behind a practiced smile, to survive by being low maintenance, to become the strong one. You can usually recognize them by how quickly they change the subject, by how they listen deeply, yet rarely talk about themselves, by how they'll stay up comforting a friend at 2 a.m. But when they're the ones breaking, they'll say, "Don't worry about it, I'll be okay." They are fluent in emotional deflection, masters at turning the spotlight away. When they say, "I'm fine," they're really saying, "I don't want to burden you with what I can barely carry myself." There's also another layer, quieter, deeper. Sometimes, "I'm fine" is not just about hiding pain. It's about not knowing how to name it. Because when you spend years pushing feelings away, they stop having names. You just feel tired, number. You can't tell if you're sad or just existing. You stop asking yourself what's wrong because you wouldn't know where to start. And when someone asks, "Are you okay?" you say, "I'm fine." Because that's the only language you've ever had for "I don't know anymore." Some people wear "I'm fine" like armor. Others wear it like makeup. Either way, it hides what the world wasn't gentle enough to see. They sit in rooms full of laughter, quietly drifting somewhere else. They talk about work, or movies, or weekend plans. Anything that feels safe. Because safety, for them, has never lived in emotional spaces. It's lived in composure, in predictability, in saying the right words so no one worries. "I'm fine" becomes a ritual of survival, the same way some people hold their breath underwater, waiting until they're alone to finally exhale. And when they are alone, that's when the truth returns. It comes back in waves, the tears that never came, the thoughts they pushed away all day, the endless replay of conversations, mistakes, what ifs. They collapse into their own silence, and sometimes that's the only place they feel seen, by themselves, because the world rewards the ones who keep it together, who smile through exhaustion, who turn chaos into calm. But the world rarely asks what it costs to always be okay. People who say, "I'm fine," but aren't, often live between two selves, the one the world sees and the one that quietly aches beneath the surface. The outer self is capable, functional, pleasant. They show up to work, they laugh at jokes, they answer texts, but the inner self is bruised, tired from being brave all the time. It whispers, "I wish someone would notice without me having to say it." And yet, if someone does notice, they panic, they deflect, They say, "No, really, I'm fine." Because attention feels like exposure, and exposure feels like danger. This is the paradox of emotional masking. They crave understanding, but fear it at the same time. They want to be seen, but the thought of being truly seen feels unbearable. So they choose control. They choose silence, because at least silence can't disappoint them. You can hear it in their language if you listen closely. They downplay their struggles. It's not a big deal. I've been worse. I just need sleep. They turn heartbreak into humor, pain into productivity, and loneliness into independence. Because somewhere along the way, they learned that strength means suppression, that composure equals worth, that needing help means failure. But deep down, they're not trying to be strong. They're just trying not to break. If you ever meet someone like this, don't try to make them talk before they're ready. Don't rush to fix what they haven't yet felt safe to share. Just be there, quietly. The kind of presence that doesn't demand performance. The kind that says, "You don't have to be fine here." Because for people like this, healing starts with permission. Permission to not be okay. Permission to speak without being judged. Permission to be messy, imperfect, human. It takes years to unlearn "I'm fine," to replace it with honesty, to believe that vulnerability won't make love disappear. And even when they start to heal, they'll relapse into politeness, into those two words that feel safe, familiar, controlled. But if you stay long enough, if you love them gently enough, they might let you see what "I'm fine" was hiding all along. Not weakness, not neediness, but a heart that has been quiet for far too long. A heart that's tired of surviving in silence. There's a strange heaviness that comes with silence. Not the kind you can measure in pounds, but in pauses. It's the heaviness of words swallowed, feelings untold, emotions compressed until they hum quietly beneath the skin. For the person who says, "I'm fine," that silence isn't empty. It's full. Full of all the things they wish they could say but can't. Full of memories that never really healed, only hardened. They carry it everywhere. In their posture, their tone, their tired eyes. To the world they look calm, but calm can be deceptive. Calm can be the still surface of deep water. If you ask them how they're doing, they'll smile. They'll tell you about work, or the weather, or something funny that happened. They'll make you feel comfortable, because that's what they do. They manage other people's emotions better than their own. They become caretakers of harmony. They soothe others, even when they're unraveling inside. Because once they learned that peace in others means safety for themselves. If no one is angry, if no one is worried, if everyone's laughing, maybe they won't have to feel their own pain. So they hide it beneath kindness. They wear politeness like armor, and the world applauds them for it. You're so mature. You're so calm. You're so understanding. But what they really are is exhausted. Emotional exhaustion doesn't always look like crying. Sometimes it looks like silence, like staring at a wall, replaying conversations, like smiling when someone asks if you're okay because explaining feels impossible. They think, if I start talking, I might never stop. And that thought terrifies them. So they keep it contained, compact, manageable, a box inside their chest labeled later, but later never comes, and boxes fill up. The psychology of "I'm fine" is rooted in one of the deepest human fears, rejection. Not just social rejection, emotional rejection. The fear that if they show the truth, the sadness, the confusion, the anger, they'll lose love, that people will leave, that they'll become too much. And that fear isn't born in adulthood. It's planted early, in childhood moments where their emotions were met with indifference or discomfort. Maybe when they cried, someone told them to stop being dramatic. Maybe when they were scared, they were told to toughen up. Maybe when they spoke their mind, they were told they were too sensitive. And so they learned, not through words, but through tone, through sighs, through silence, that being fine is safer than being real. So they grew into adults who translate every feeling into composure, who can feel heartbreak and still say, "I'm okay," who can be drowning in self-doubt and still smile through it. They become experts at emotional translation, turning pain into politeness, fear into logic, loneliness into productivity. They rarely let themselves fall apart because falling apart feels like proof that they're failing. But here's the quiet truth. You can only repress what you feel for so long before your body starts speaking for you. Sleep disappears, energy drops, motivation fades. The smallest things start to feel impossible. And even then, even when their body is pleading for rest, they whisper, "I'm fine." Because "I'm fine" isn't just a phrase, it's a coping mechanism. It's the emotional equivalent of holding your breath underwater. It buys time. It keeps others from worrying. It lets them function, at least for another day. But what they don't realize is that every time they say, "I'm fine," they reinforce the idea that their real feelings don't matter, that to be loved, they must be calm, contained, easy to be around. Over time, they forget what it even feels like to be fully honest, to say, "I'm not okay," without shame, to be messy without fearing that someone will walk away. They might not even notice how often they lie to themselves. "I'm used to it. It doesn't bother me anymore. I'm just tired." Little sentences that build a wall between them and their truth, not out of deceit, out of protection. Because acknowledging pain means feeling it, and feeling it means risking collapse. So instead, they focus on others. They pour empathy outward, never inward. They become the friend who's always there, the listener, the strong one. But the strong one rarely gets asked how they're doing, because everyone assumes they're fine. That's the cruel irony of emotional suppression. The better you are at pretending, the fewer people notice when you're not okay. And sometimes, that's the part that hurts the most. Not just the sadness itself, but the invisibility of it. The way no one asks, because you've taught them not to. The way you start to believe that maybe you really should be fine by now. There's a loneliness that grows in silence, a quiet ache that settles somewhere between your chest and your throat. It's the weight of words you wish someone could understand without you having to say them. And even if someone asks, even if they mean it, "Are you sure you're okay?" You hesitate, because you can't tell if they really want to know or if they're just being polite. You can't tell if your truth will be met with warmth or if it'll make things awkward, heavy, inconvenient. So you default to the same safety phrase, "I'm fine." But "I'm fine" is a story of fear disguised as strength. And beneath that fear is longing, a longing to be seen without having to perform, a longing to be held without needing to justify the weight you carry, a longing to finally exhale, not into a pillow, but into a person. Because no matter how self-sufficient someone seems, humans are not built to hold everything alone. We break quietly when no one's watching. We fall apart in the safest corners of our solitude. We cry in ways that make no sound. And sometimes, the most heartbreaking part isn't that no one hears. It's that no one even suspects there's something to hear. People who say, "I'm fine," aren't emotionless. They feel too much. That's the problem. They've learned to compress that depth into something socially acceptable, to make heartbreak look like composure, to make loneliness look like independence. But if you could listen beneath the words, if you could hear the subtle tremor beneath "I'm fine," you'd hear everything they never said out loud. I don't know how to explain it. I don't want to be a problem. I just wish someone would notice without me having to ask. Sometimes, the most healing thing you can do for someone like this isn't to ask questions, it's to stay. To stay even when they insist they're okay. To stay even when they go quiet. To stay until silence stops being their shield and starts being their comfort. Because the truth is, they don't need someone to fix them. They just need someone who won't disappear when they finally stop saying, "I'm fine." There comes a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when pretending starts to hurt more than honesty, when the weight of "I'm fine" becomes heavier than the truth it's hiding. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly. A conversation that leaves you feeling hollow. A night where sleep won't come, no matter how tired you are. A smile that feels like glass cracking at the corners. That's when something inside begins to whisper, "You can't keep doing this." But learning to be honest about pain isn't easy for people who've built their identity around holding it in. It feels wrong, almost dangerous, like walking barefoot through their own emotions. Because when you've lived so long being the strong one, vulnerability feels like weakness. When your worth has been tied to being the one who never breaks, admitting you're not okay feels like failure. But it isn't. It's the first real step toward healing. See, emotional honesty isn't about dumping everything at once. It's about softening the edges of your silence. It's about allowing truth to slip through, piece by piece, until your voice doesn't shake when you say it anymore. It might start with something small. "I've been tired lately. I think that hurt more than I realized. I don't know why, but I haven't felt like myself." Tiny truths, spoken into spaces that feel safe, and over time, those small admissions start to rebuild something the phrase, "I'm fine," took away. Connection. Because the moment you tell the truth, even a little, you give others permission to be real too. Honesty, after all, is contagious. It ripples outward. But here's something few people talk about. Being honest with your pain isn't just about trusting others. It's about learning to trust yourself again. Because when you spend years minimizing what you feel, you start to doubt your own emotions. You start to gaslight yourself. It wasn't that bad. Other people have it worse. I should be over it by now. But healing doesn't respond to logic. It responds to acknowledgement. You can't heal what you keep invalidating. The human brain has this remarkable ability to protect itself through avoidance. Psychologists call it emotional suppression, the act of pushing down feelings that are too painful or inconvenient. It works. For a while. You can function. You can smile, laugh, work, even love. But suppressed emotions don't disappear. They resurface, disguised, in irritability, in fatigue, in overthinking, in the way your chest tightens when someone asks if you're okay, and you say you are, knowing you're not. The body remembers what the mind avoids, and sooner or later, it asks to be heard. That's why stillness can feel terrifying for people who say, "I'm fine," because silence removes distraction, and in that quiet, everything buried starts to echo back. The heartbreak they never talked about, the anger they were never allowed to show, the sadness that lingered long after the world moved on. But here's the thing, facing those feelings isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the moment you stop being at war with yourself, because pain doesn't disappear when it's ignored. It transforms when it's understood. To the world, vulnerability looks like exposure, but psychologically, it's a sign of strength. It means your nervous system no longer sees emotions as danger. It means your body feels safe enough to tell the truth. That's what healing really is, safety. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of acceptance. When someone can say, "I'm not fine," and know they won't be punished, abandoned, or pitied for it, that's when something begins to shift. That's when "I'm fine" turns into "I'm healing." And maybe that's what people who've lived behind those two words need most. Not solutions, not advice, just space. Space to feel without performance. Space to cry without explanation. Space to say, "I'm not okay," and not have it change how others see them. Because for someone who spent a lifetime controlling every emotional expression, being seen in pain feels like exposure. They're used to being invisible in their sadness. Being visible feels like breaking a rule. But the truth is, the parts you hide are usually the ones that need love the most. Sometimes, healing begins with someone staying long enough for you to believe they won't leave. Sometimes it begins with your own reflection, looking at yourself without judgment. Sometimes it begins with something as simple as this realization: you deserve to be understood without having to pretend. Because the world teaches us to apologize for our emotions, to shrink them until they fit the comfort of others. But emotions aren't meant to be tidy. They're meant to be felt. You can't numb sadness without also numbing joy. You can't bury pain without burying wonder too. You can't say, "I'm fine," forever, without losing pieces of who you are. There's a softness that returns when you stop pretending. It's fragile at first, almost unfamiliar, like sunlight after too many days of rain. But eventually, that softness becomes strength, because honesty is a kind of freedom. It doesn't make the pain disappear, but it gives it air to breathe, and things that can breathe can finally begin to heal. There's a quote that says, "The truth will set you free, but first it will shatter you." For people who've lived inside, "I'm fine," that's exactly what happens. The first time you admit you're not okay, it hurts. It feels like failure. It feels like everything you've built your identity around is collapsing. But after the collapse, something quiet happens: relief. Because you realize you don't have to hold it all anymore. You don't have to be unbreakable to be loved. You don't have to smile through everything to be worthy of care. You just have to be real. The people who say, "I'm fine," are some of the most tender souls on earth. Not because they never feel pain, but because they feel it deeply and keep showing up anyway. They carry the weight of the world and still find room to care for others. They bleed quietly and still find the strength to make others laugh. And maybe that's their hidden beauty. They've learned how to be gentle in a world that never taught them how. But even gentleness needs rest. Even strength needs softness. Because the truth is, you don't have to be fine to be loved. You don't have to be okay to be worthy. You don't have to pretend to deserve understanding. Sometimes the bravest thing you can say is, "I'm not fine, but I'm trying." And maybe that's what healing really looks like. Not some grand breakthrough, not a perfect, pain-free existence, but small moments of truth. A deep breath after a long silence. A conversation that doesn't end in, "I'm fine." A night where you finally let yourself cry. Those are the moments when walls begin to fall, when the weight of pretending starts to lift, when "I'm fine" slowly, finally, turns into "I'm free."